The Yu-Gi-Oh! TCG is one of the most expensive card games to play, but with websites like Nikijo Collectibles, Cherry Collectibles, and Australian Yu-Gi-Oh! Auctions, most of the cards you need are only one mouse click away. But what would happen if these sites just disappeared and we were left to source our cards only from sealed product? Rather than relying on these sites, we'd be relying on nothing more than the luck to pull the cards we need to complete our already bullshit expensive Yu-Gi-Oh! Decks. Over the coming weeks and months, starting with nothing more than 3 structure decks and a budget of $60 a week, I am going to build a competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck with the goal of reaching the Oceanic World Championship qualifying event. Stick around to see me waste hundreds of dollars, open a ton of sealed product, and hopefully kick a few butts along the way. This is Sealed Only Yu-Gi-Oh! The Shaddoll Showdown. Alright, so episode 13 was one for the record books. We finally got our hands on that green anaconda. We have been waiting pretty much 15 weeks for that card. We have $60 to use for this week, and this week it's time to chase down some extra deck swag. We want some generic stuff this week. We know that we've got the Gravedigger's Trap hole from our week 7 prize packet, but I don't want to use that until I've got a Traptrix Rafflesia. So I have a Breaker of Shadow special edition to open up. We're still looking for the rare Performage Trapeze Magician from Clash of Rebellion, so I have another 3 boosters of that to open up today. And the other thing I'd like to open is a Gold Sarcophagus Megatim to try and hunt down some of those generic link monsters such as Nightmare Phoenix and Nightmare Unicorn. I know Boral Sword is also printed in here, so ultimately that would be a pretty epic pull as well. There's a few good cards as well as the Prismatic Secret Rare promo cards like a Nibiru and Dark Ruler No More. We're not going to waste too much time getting into this episode. It is so good to be opening something other than Duel Overload. Hopefully we won't have to revisit that set at all in the series. So we have our 3 Clash of Rebellion, our 3 mega packs from the Gold Sark tins, and our promo cards as well as our special edition from Breaker of Shadows. Let's see what our special or our promo cards have for us today. We have a Red Eyes Alternative Black Dragon, a Neo Kaiser Glider. Oh, we have an Nibiru. Wow, this is going to be good. We're going to be able to use this. It is a light target for construct. It is a pretty good hand trap in the meta. We have an Obelisk the Tormentor and a Raigeki, which we could also consider using as well. We've got some really good cards in that promo pack. Hopefully this is the start of something special. I think after pulling our Anaconda last week, our luck is about to change. I'm going to start with our Breaker of Shadows special edition. We are hunting down the secret rare card, Traptrix Rafflesia. It's a rank 4. It's going to give us a bit more extra deck utility. Here are the promo cards. We have Lancelot, Dark Knight of the Underworld, which is a rank 8, and Forge of the True Dracos. So we have a Robot Buster, Performer Power Trump Girl, Solo the Melodious, some Dynamo Support, some Blackwing, a Monkey Board, what a busted card that is, Dynamiceratops, Robot, Buster Destruction Sword again. We have a Dynasty Power, the Mighty Draco Slayer, Twilight Ninja, Chizukuru for our 3rd rare card, Buster Whelp of the Destruction Swordsman for our 1st super, Dino Mr. Rex, Magispected Toad for our supers, and we have a Shiranui Samurai Saga. There's a few more comments at the back here, nothing of great importance. Let's get into a pack of Clash of Rebellion. We've seen the Ignite Squire so many times. Through to the front, and let's see how we go. We have a Paladin, a Gallant, the Squire, a lot of Ignites in this pack. Black Metal Dragon, and a Doggeron, the Mad Flame Kaiju. Another copy of that isn't a bad thing. And a Performance Palisade Tiger. Alright, let's just put the Doggeron on top. Let's get into our first Mega Pack from the Gold Star kit. Here we go. We have some Trickstar stuff. Waking the Dragon, that could be a decent card. Crystal. FA Dawn Dragster. Hip Shinigami. FA Dawn Dragster. Topologic Trisbane, that's actually not a bad ultra rare to get. And we have an Iron Dragon Tamayaton. That's probably the worst secret rare in this set. That went into the Prismatic Secret. But the Trisbane is not a bad option. We could probably use that. We'll have to see how we go. Let's put our rares on the top. We'll put the Trisbane on top and we will go to the next pack. We've seen the Secret. Remember last episode we pulled the Archfiend Eccentric. So we have a Phoenix, Keeper of the Shrine, a Raptor's Gust, Stilts Launcher, Opera the Melodious Diva, Chicken Game, Raid Raptor Singing Lanius, Humid Winds, and an Ignite Champion. Alright, nothing in that pack either. We're not getting much out of this, guys. I hope you're hitting that like button to send all your luck this way because we need it. Well, let's get some of those Nightmare cards in here, yeah? Alright, what have we got? We've got some Altergeist stuff, Crystal Keeper, Prompt Thorn, Mythical Institution, a Link Streamer, Crusadia Revival, Legacy World Crown for our Super Rare, Reproticus for our Ultra, and a Thunder Dragon Roar for our Prismatic Secret. Still nothing that I actually want. It's not looking really good here. I'm still hopeful that there will be something in the last two. Let's go for our final pack for the Slice of Rebellion. Alright, 3 to the front. And what have we got? So Raid Raptor Fuzzy Lanius, Ignition Phoenix, there's another Hat Tricker, Wavering Eyes, Singing Lanius, Secret Blast, Bubble Barrier, a Performage Trapeze Magician, that's what we're looking for, it's about time. Alright, so we have an upgraded rank 4 for our deck now. I'm pretty stoked with that. And a Raptor's Gust to finish off. So still no hollow. Oof. But we do have a one change we can make. Plus the Nibiru. I'm pretty happy with that. And let's have a look at our final Mega Pack. Can we make some more changes to the extra deck? A Rev System. What's our Ultra Rare going to be? Oh, it's a Danger Tsuchinoko. That's not awful. That's actually pretty good. I don't know if we can use it. It does give us a dark target. It does give us the potential to get it on the field for a draw. Yeah, maybe. We'll think about it. And our Prismatic Secret is a red reboot. We could actually run this in the side deck if we wanted to. It is pretty good going first card to set up against some of those trap cards. We will have to really consider that one closely. I guess the big winner out of this pack, this week's opening, was the Nibiru that we pulled from the promo cards, and of course our rank 4 Trapeze Magician. This one is going to help us push for our OTKs, but we can't try it out until we put it in the deck. It's time to put it together. I'll let you know what the changes look like, and then we're going to get into some duels. I'll see you on the other side, so make sure you're there.
2 hours later.
What's up, guys? In the interest of time, I do want to make this week's deck profile quite quick. There were a couple of changes that we did make to the deck, so I thought I'd run you through an entire deck profile. Based on the comments from last week, it seems that you guys also missed it, so I will quickly run you through this week's list. Don't forget to also check out in the comments. I will put a typed list there in a pinned comment as well. So first of all, we've kept our Shaddoll engine exactly the same as last week. We've got 10 Shaddolls, including 2 Squamata, 2 Wendy, 2 Ariel, 2 Hedgehog, 1 Dragon, and 1 Shaddoll Beast. That is our 10 Shaddoll monsters. I do like this. I don't run out of targets. I find them in my deck when I need to get to them, and I am quite impressed with the way that this deck and this engine has stayed so consistent. There are times where I wish I'd be able to open up a Shaddoll monster a little bit sooner, but I'm hoping that the extenders that I am putting in the deck over the next few weeks will actually add to that. Now, in terms of the normal summons and the extra cards that we have our light target engine, which is 2 damage juggler, 1 trick clown, and 1 hat tricker. You would have seen over the last couple of weeks when we have played the hat tricker, we have been able to go into those link 2 plays a lot easier. I really feel like that having that free special summon really gives hat tricker a place in the deck when sometimes we just need to go into that anaconda to send that Shaddoll fusion to the graveyard to get our engine running well. I don't think I'll change that engine. If anything, I could probably do with cutting a copy of Damage Juggler, because that second copy just doesn't come up as often as it probably could. We are running 3 hand traps with the 1 Ceravis and the 2 Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. Getting those extra cards to hand and fixing our hand a little bit if we are going second, or when we can play the card, it is quite useful. So the 2 Phantasme have been put into the main deck. Now we have our normal summons. We have 2 Mathematician. This card is just a really good engine starter. You can send whatever you need. If you need to send a Trick Clown, you need to send a Damage Juggler, or you can send a Shaddoll card with this card, and it will give you that advantage that you need to get things going in your first turn. We're running 1 Danger Tsuchinoko. I thought I would mix things up and try out the Iron Dragon Timaton. Hopefully we'll see in the duels this week if it plays a benefit to us or not. It is a free special summon. It is a dark target, so it can have some synergy with the deck. We're also playing a copy of Chaos Dragon Levianeer as always, and a copy of Nibiru the Primal Being, as well as our 1 copy of Wizard Buster the Destruction Sword in an attempt to shut off our opponent's graveyard. We have seen a Wizard Buster Glock come into play quite often in this series, and I'm not looking at changing that anytime soon. Maybe when we get our hands on the Buster Dragon, that's when the wizard will come out. Onto the spell cards. Our fusion lineup has not changed. 3 Shaddoll Fusion, 3 El Shaddoll Fusion, and 3 Super Polymerization. The more we get used to using cards like Verte Anaconda, the more clutch these fusion spells will come in. I do probably need to find a way to get myself pretty much an extra copy of Polymerization. That might also come in handy. But for now, those 9 fusion spells are paying dividends. We're also running a copy of Foolish Burial, basically a Mathematician as a spell card, and a Raigeki that is going into the main deck, so we can clear those opponents' pesky boards should we need to do so before we push in our going second build. Trap cards, still 2 copies of Shaddoll Incarnation. This, even though we are going second, is a great dumper with Construct or Schemata to start our advantage flowing, so I won't be cutting this back. We're also running the copy of Shaddoll Core that can help us recycle the spell cards or the trap cards depending on what we need, and our 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence to round out the main deck. I do like the 40 cards that we are playing. There probably is room in the future to go up a little bit more, because our card is so searchable with cards like not Super Polymerization, but Shaddoll Fusion. By sending cards to the graveyard that we want to see, we can actually tutor the things from the deck that we need to see a little bit easier and at our own will. Extra deck, guys. 3 copies of our Bay. Nothing to be said, this card will stay at 3. Still 2 copies of App Cologne. I'm liking this card less and less every single week. We do go into it every now and again. It is a dark target that we can target with our Wizard Buster, but I feel like that negating the effect of 1 card on the field is a little bit of a moot point when the opponent can usually do something straight off. This could be cut to 1 in the future, so stay tuned. 2 copies of Winder. I can't see that changing. Such a good card. And we have a copy of El Shaddoll Shekinaga. Just because we have a couple of Earth targets in the deck, we can use that as some fodder as well. Onto the links, we have 1 copy of Topologic Trisbana. I feel like that spell and trap cards can be the bane of our existence, so I would like to be able to get rid of those a little bit easier. The copy of Union Carrier for our Wizard Buster play, and our Holy Verte Anaconda. Bajinki Ahashima is still in the deck, but I will be cutting this when we have a better option, as well as the copy of Almirage. We finally have our Performage Trapeze Magician to go into the deck, and hopefully we'll put in some work, along with a copy of Dingirsu, the Orchestra of the Evening Star, that can help us with a little bit of non-targeting spot removal, as well as a little bit of damage or destruction protection. Side deck doesn't look too different to what it was before. We have 3 copies of Twin Twister and a single copy of Mystical Space Typhoon. We are running 3 copies of Lost Wind, 2 copies of Necrofusion, 1 copy of Dynamiscus, 1 Red Reboot, 1 Solemn Strike, 1 Compulsory Evacuation Device. I've got a little bit of a tech choice here. I'm running a copy of Waking the Dragon with a copy of Phantasm Emperor Trilogic. I actually thought ever since I've opened so much Duel Overload that putting Quadzilla into this deck could actually be a little bit of a gimmick for me to have a bit of fun with. It might come up, it might not come up, but let's play it out to see how it goes. It really is, for lack of a better option, for putting other cards in the side deck, and hopefully in the future, when I start opening some more generic product, we will have some more options there. But that is the deck for episode 14, and don't forget to check out the changes by having a look at the deck profile from episode 13, and I'll put a link to that in the card for the corner on the right hand side, so check that out as well. That is this week's deck profile, guys. I will see you after the duels for the weekly recap. Leave a comment down below with what you thought of the deck profile, and I will chat to you soon.
It's time to duel!
It is time to see our new deck in action this week, but before we do, let's have a look at the Week 13 results recap. We are currently at 49 matches played, 20 wins, 28 losses, and 1 draw. I put those numbers into the calculator, and it is giving us a 40.8% win rate. Pretty shit if you ask me, but we will be looking at improving that in the future. Let's wait for this graphic to dull down, and we will check out the round 1 duels for week 14. We came up against Trains, and it was a pretty savage duel against Taylor. He was able to go into some cards early on, but we were able to clear his board fairly quickly. As you would have been able to see behind the graphic, we were able to make some quick super poly plays, getting rid of his monsters to go into a Shekinaga. We then used 2 of our monsters to go into a Verte and a Conda, summon the Winder, and then, as you can see, we made a bit of a misplay. I'm not actually supposed to special summon after Anaconda's effect has been used, but I did bring that beast out. Luckily for me, it didn't affect anything too much. We were able to twin Twister into his back row and of course his field spell, so he couldn't really do much about it. We then, with the Winder on the field, go into a Union Carrier play for our 1 special summon and attach the Wizard Buster, so he's unable to use any of his graveyard effects. We swing for a couple of thousand, and we're going straight into game 2 after that easy first game win. So Foolish Burial was dropped off, and we were able to get a Wendy in the graveyard after a Squamata to special summon the beast. We then El Shaddoll fusioned into a Shaddoll construct to then go into, of course, we didn't go into anything. We just sent a copy of Construct, and we were able to start building the resources in our graveyard. We set 2 cards, but unfortunately he had the Kaiju answers with the interrupted Kaiju Slumber. I was able to then use one of the Twin Twisters, getting rid of some hand to actually destroy some of his back row. We've got our Kaiju face up on the field still. He was able to go into a couple of link plays here that helped him out. He was then destroying some cards on my field, doing some damage with the effect of Leave. I was able to bring out the Shaddoll construct from my graveyard. He then decided for some reason to attack into the construct, even though he knew what Construct's destruction effect looked like. Into him, took the win quite quickly after his bit of a misplay. What happened after that was quite simple. Game 2, we come up against Kevin and his Machina deck. Now, he basically built this deck from 3 structure decks. I didn't really know what this deck did because I hadn't come up against it too much, but I was doing my best to try and really pick up the effects of these cards really quickly. I do know that the Citadel is a quick play Raigeki, and far out that card is really annoying to get around.
As soon as anything is destroyed, it can come back from the field and it can target a card and destroy all the monsters on the field with that attack or less. If it doesn't target itself, well, why wouldn't you? With a 3000 attack, he was able to basically destroy every monster that I could put on the board. As you can see here, he has 5 monsters on board and I am absolutely fucked. Let's see how this one plays out. So I'm able to go into construct here. The construct effect will go off. He's letting me make a few plays. All I know he's doing is trying to bait out some of my resources. I've gone into the Shaddoll construct. He uses the Gravedigger effect from Citadel to clear my board. I'm able to go into a Chaos Dragon Legionnaire here. This was actually quite a good first game. Chaos Dragon Legionnaire destroys a couple of cards, but because of that destruction effect, he's able to get the Citadel back on the field. I've passed it over to him, he uses the effect, goes into that, and then he burns me for 2,000 for game. Now, I did tell Kevin that he was being filmed, and I did tell Kevin that I was going to call him an absolute asshole. It's all about the memes, and he was able to deliver on that one. So I go second, knowing that the Machina deck is probably a bit of a going second deck, so I want to take second to try and utilise my advantage on the deck. Set a couple of cards and you can see Kevin starting to establish all of the board presence necessary. He kills into my Trick Clown. I used to bring it back, pay 1,000 life points to act as a little bit more defense. I'm then able to Regeki next turn. That is so good for me because I'm able to get some cards on the board. I go into a Winder, I use Ariel's effect to do some banishing, and I'm also able to swing for 2,200 in the battle phase. I use Red Shell Incarnation's effect. He DD Crows the Ariel, so I'm not able to bring it out. I set one monster, I set one back row. Even with the anti-spell fragrance face up on the field, I find myself gaining a little bit more advantage. I search out another El Shaddoll Fusion, knowing that Kevin won't go into the extra deck, so Shaddoll Fusion will be a little bit pointless at this stage. Bit by bit, I'm able to pick off the resources that Kevin's putting on the board. I'm able to imperm his Scrap Recycler, so he's not able to generate too much more advantage. The best card that I was able to get rid of in his graveyard was the Citadel, using the effective Ariel back when I summoned the Winder. Generating more and more advantage here, I am able to take game 2 quite comprehensively. Kevin did draw quite well going into game 3. As you can see, he picked up the Pankratops in his opening hand, was able to normal summon the Scrap Recycler and able to do some significant damage in that first turn, taking almost half of my life points away from me. He does get the Gizmek Orochi on field as well, and he starts swinging away. Not a lot I can do here. I bring out the Iron Dragon time and time. I can't say that I like that card, and it's definitely going to be coming out next week. I do a little bit here, but it's not enough, and after a lot, Kevin gets into me and destroys me for the match. Coming up against Benjamin here with his Shaddoll Dogmatica deck. Now, I'm not actually sure if this build had the Dogmatica stuff in it. This was filmed quite a while ago, and I don't actually think Rise of the Duelist was out. I did come up against Ben not that long ago when Rise of the Duelist had been released, and he was playing the Dogmatica then. I'm actually pretty sure that this is just a Chaos variant of the Shaddolls that Benjamin is playing. But let's just keep an eye on his deck and we'll see what he puts on the board. So he goes into the Wendy, special summons the Beast, and he's able to draw 2 cards. He discards a card there. And of course, has a little bit of fun. He goes into the Armageddon Knight, gets that dump, does his searching, goes into a Chaos space, pulls out a Blackluster Soldier. He is then able to Super Poly using My Damn Monsters, puts the Shaddoll Fusion on the field, uses its effects, dumps off a card to the graveyard, and starts destroying my own graveyard. Banishing that construct was probably one of the worst things he could have done, because I do believe I had a Res Shaddoll Incarnation in hand. He's able to go into the Blackluster Soldier. He's going to destroy me with the Blackluster Soldier, and I am in trouble. Down 1 game, he opens up game 2, and he goes into the Mathematician. I'm able to imperm that straight away. He then goes into the Shaddoll Fusion, using 2 Dark Monsters to then go into Shaddoll Winder. I'm in trouble already. There's not a lot I can do. I'm going to use Super Poly. I'm going to use my Aerial and his Winder to go into a copy of my own. Coming out on the board, there's my Winder. Use Aerial's effect to banish a couple of cards from his graveyard, but it doesn't matter that much. He brings a Beast out onto the field. For some reason, I flipped down my own Winder. I don't know why I did that, but he was able to send it back to hand with Dragon anyway. He goes into a construct with Shaddoll Fusion, sends the Shaddoll Incarnation, uses the effect of Falco, doesn't realise that he can't use the effect, but it doesn't matter anyway. He does the damage really quickly and is able to take me out. Going into game 4, currently sitting at 2 losses and 1 win, I came up against Super Heavy Samurai. Now, I honestly have no idea what any of these cards do. I was doing my fair share of reading of these, and guys, I cannot stress enough that you read every single word on the cards. These cards have so much text on them that if you don't understand it, read it again, and then read it again, and then read it again. Gavin plays really quickly. He knows his deck quite well, and he is able to get through those combos pretty fast. So if you don't read the cards, you make sure that you take the time to slow your opponent down so you've got a chance to read. As you can see here, I was getting into a little bit of trouble. I really had no answers to some of those really beefy defense monsters. He was able to attack from defense mode, and I wasn't able to do too much. Amp Cologne did save me a little bit, but when he was able to get it off the field, there's not much more I could do. None of my monsters had a big enough attack. I couldn't swing over them, so all I could try and do was to clear his board with some of the Shaddoll monster effects, and that's basically it. But as soon as he started gaining some advantage here, all I could do was just try and hold on for dear life so he didn't kill me that much. I Shaddolled into Dragon a couple of times, sending some of his bigger monsters back to his hand, but for some strange reason he was just able to keep getting them out. Until I found a Shaddoll Fusion in my hand, I was able to then get Construct on the board and then use her effects during the battle phase to clear that monster out. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do too much in this first game. This is quite a long first duel. I think it was the longest one for the round. But turn after turn, we started to gain a little bit of advantage here and there, and hopefully by the end of it, we were able to put something on board. I still didn't know how I was going to out some of those monsters. I went into the Verte Anaconda, but unfortunately, there was nothing I could do with it, so I just had to scoop. Going into game 2 was a little bit better. I decided to go first here to try and stop some of his special summoning. Unfortunately, I didn't get the best hand. I was able to set up some stuff in my graveyard using Dynamiscus as a great defensive card to get some of his good stuff off the board. I was then able to use Shaddoll Incarnation to start mounting my own bit of challenge here. 5 monsters on the board. I started going into some pretty sick plays. I was able to get a Union Carrier on board. I was able to start using some of my fusion monsters as well. Going into an App Cologne and then deciding to attach the Wizard Buster to it to basically shut down his graveyard as well. Not that a lot of stuff happens in the graveyard with that super heavy deck anyway. I do know Trumpeter, I think, is the one that can be used from the graveyard though. Going into a Topologic Trisbana was pretty good. I don't actually know why I went into her. Basically, it's the only Link 3 that I have. I didn't really want to leave the 1000 attack point Union Carrier on the board in case he was able to get that big Benkei powered up to double the attack again. Unfortunately, he was able to clear a few monsters from my board. I probably should have left that Cologne on the board because it was unable to be destroyed by battle. but I was able to get the app cologne back, or the second copy anyway, negate Big Benkei's effect so it wouldn't be able to special summon to attack from defense position. Luckily enough, I was able to use compulsory evacuation device to send that big level 10 synchro monster back to his hand, and we were going into game 3. This game was pretty clutch. We didn't have a lot of time left on the clock, and I do know that there were a few people standing around. I know Gavin was getting a little bit nervous here, but luckily enough, we were able to easily take away the win, and we were finishing the game 2 wins, 2 losses. Thank
The next day.
Alright guys, week 14 recap. Before we get into it though, I want to say that so many of you have been watching these episodes, but unfortunately you're not subscribing to the channel. I know that my luck in those pools are going to improve with the more people who hit that like and subscribe button. With that being said, let's talk about this week's duels. Round 1 was an easy win. We were able to come away 2-0 for that one against Trains. I knew going into winter would be enough to shut down that deck significantly quickly, and that's what we did. We also turned off the graveyard with the Wizard Buster, so he wasn't even able to use the effect of Ruffian Railcar in the end phase to get any sort of advantage from that. He managed to go into a couple of his rank 10s, but we were able to deal with that pretty quickly by using our Shaddoll Construct's destruction effect in the battle phase. Round 2 was up against Kevin and his Machina deck. What I do know is he pretty much built that from 3 of the destruction decks and added in a few more cards. Recently getting back into the game and waiting for all of his gear to show up in the mail, he thought he'd put 3 of those decks together, add a few more cards, and then go into it. Turns out that that deck did fucking pretty well against the Shaddoll deck. I was able to get one back on him in the second game where we made winner and were able to lock him out for a couple of turns. Slowing down those special summons really did significantly hurt him, but unfortunately in the third game he was able to get over the top of us, again using that quick play Raigeki to empty out our field before doing significant damage and draining our life points dry. That put us at 1-1 for the tournament, where we then in round 3 came up against my mate Ben. Good old Ben, loved playing against him. Playing his Chaos Shaddoll deck, it was really great to see some of these cards come back. I enjoyed playing the mirror match because you really have to think about how you're using your resources in this game. Unfortunately, I couldn't see enough resources to get me over the line, even though Super Poly came in clutch a couple of times. Ben always seemed to have an answer. When he hit that Shaddoll fusion with that Ash, I could feel a tear coming to my eye, but knowing that I was coming up against Ben and losing to a good mate of mine, I wasn't too disappointed. We went down a quick 2-0 in that one, which was giving us a negative record for the tournament, so I knew the final round, round 4, had to be a good one. Now, round 4 was probably one of the strangest duels I played for a long time. I haven't come up competitively against Super Heavy Samurai deck ever. That deck is actually pretty good. It's able to combo off and it can tribute and it can search and it can equip and it can do piercing. Not to mention the fact that all those big ass monsters can attack from defense position. I was able to get a few extra cards in the side deck, putting some trap cards in there to help me get over some of those monsters and send them back to hand really came in clutch. When time was called in the third game though, I was getting a little bit nervous. I had 5 minutes to do a little bit of damage so I could get on top of him. What I did then, I was able to come off with the play, I was able to win, attack for game, and it was over. The 2-2 record wasn't what I was hoping for, but it also wasn't the worst case scenario. So many changes that I want to make to the deck. I do think I'll spend a little bit longer in the video next week going through some of those changes. I might cut some of the duel time down again to maybe some of the more clutch times during the games, because I feel like those are taking up so much time. Thank you so much for sticking around, guys. We are almost 15 episodes in, and I know my uploads have been a little bit slow at times. I do promise to get on top of the editing and the uploading, but I do have a full-time job to work around this. So make sure to support me and to support the fact that I know you like these episodes. Hit that subscribe button and let me know when you want to see the next one. Episode 15 is just around the corner, where we're going to do a little bit of a bigger opening. So hopefully you'll stick around for that.